We don't know who this could be and who might he be, because being to it with so many people, you know what I'm talking about, diss so many people, you know what I'm talking about, that's why it's not good to diss, because if you out here dissing, my nigga, you know what I'm talking about, you don't know where that fire can come from. You know what I'm talking about, and you out here dissing, bro, you might as well tuck yourself under a rock, have yourself in the crib, or get some top flight security or something, man.
Surveillance cameras don't lie, they don't judge, they just record. And on October 26, 2025, they captured something Chicago had seen too many times before, the final moments of a man who'd spent his whole life trying to survive the streets that raised him, THF, Zoo, Bezu, Big Boss Zoo, whatever name you knew him by. Devin Chicalier was 35 years old when those cameras caught his last breath in a little village parking lot. But here's the question nobody's asking. What really happened in that parking lot? And maybe more importantly, was this always how his story was going to end? Before we get into that day, before we talk about the bullets and the aftermath, we need to understand who Zoo really was. Because this ain't just another Chicago drill story. This is about a man who saw the cycle, understood it, and still couldn't break free. September 26th, 1990, Cabrini Green. If you don't know that name, understand this. It was one of the most notorious housing projects in America. A place where childhood ended early and survival became the only curriculum that mattered. This is where Devin Chicalier entered the world. Not into opportunity, not into safety, into a war zone disguised as a neighborhood. Cabrini Green wasn't just buildings and concrete. It was a mindset, a training ground. You learned young that trust was expensive and hesitation could get you killed. The violence wasn't something you witnessed occasionally.
I was born in the Greens, I grew up in the Greens. You know what I'm saying? I got a name out there too, like, you know what I'm saying? I got a chance to get in the field, but I was just doing bad shit. These little baby kid shit, you feel me? I came south, man, when I was like mid-teens. My OG always been out south, so I've been knowing all my brothers that's from out south since I was a puppy, you feel me? My grandma still stayed up north. And my OG moved southbound when they knocked out.
It was the soundtrack of everyday life. And for young Zoo, this environment didn't just shape him, it became him. As a kid, he wasn't the type to sit inside and play video games. Nah, Zoo was already pushing boundaries that most children didn't even know existed. Shooting BB guns at taxicabs, throwing rocks at targets that had no business being targets, letting stray dogs loose just to watch the chaos unfold. People who didn't know better might call it mischief, childish rebellion.
Shooting taxicab drivers with BB guns, throwing rocks, going in the stove, snatching shit, running up out of them. I was bad as hell as a shorty. Man, so much shit I can't even think of. Like, I was just doing all bad. Yeah, man. You know, the little dog catcher trucks and shit when they be grabbing the little stray dogs and shit. I used to, you know, they got a little community in the Greens with the dogs, and I used to be letting the dogs out the bike when I was a shorty, man, bad as hell. Like, unlocking the little dog cage, letting their ass hop out the truck, chasing my down the street, shit. I was just bad as hell.
But look closer and you'll see something darker. Survival training disguised as play. Learning to test limits. Learning to create fear before fear found you. Cabrini Green was teaching him lessons that no school ever could. And he was a quick study. May 2011. Zoo was 21 years old when his world shattered in a way that no amount of street education could prepare him for. His brother, Gouda, was gone. Not from gang violence, not from a rival's bullet, from an accident.
You know, he was in the house, the gun accidentally went off and shot him in the head or whatever, you know what I'm saying? That's how he passed away. So like, wasn't nobody in my family, as far as the immediate family, who was strong enough to bathe them and wash them up and get them prepared for the services.
A gun discharged inside their own home, and Zoo was there. He was the one who had to deal with it. The cleanup, the reality, the irreversible finality of death when it happens to someone you love. Years later, he'd talk about that moment in fragments. Never the full story, just pieces too painful to hold on to for long. He admitted he was the one who handled everything that day, alone. No time to process, no time to grieve. Just survive the moment and move forward. But here's the thing about trauma. It doesn't disappear just because you refuse to look at it. It sits inside you, festering, changing the way you see everything. Zoo never properly mourned his brother. He said it himself in interviews. Instead, he turned to substances, pills, lean, anything to numb the pain that he couldn't process. That day in May 2011 became the ghost that followed him through every decision afterward. Every song, every beef, every bullet he'd dodge or send. You can't understand Zoo's story without understanding this loss. It's the wound that never healed. The criminal justice system met Devin Chicalier early, 13 years old. Armed robbery, Cairo, Illinois. Think about that for a second. 13, an age when most kids are worried about middle school drama and what's for lunch. Zoo was catching charges that would follow him for life. He got sent to juvenile detention in Harrisburg. 4.5 years of his teenage life gone. The years when you're supposed to be figuring out who you are. He was learning a different curriculum. How to survive behind bars. How to navigate prison politics. how to come out harder than you went in, but that was just the beginning. Over the course of his life, Zoo would spend more than 12 years incarcerated. Gun charges, robberies, violence-related offenses that stacked up like bodies in the streets.
Maybe more, maybe less, bro. Like, I spent a lot of time, man. I've been going to jail since a juvenile, since I was 13, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I try to do the math myself, like just putting all the time together, the real bids and shit. It's like 12 out of my life, shit, then half of my life, you feel me? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I ain't get a chance to experience life for real till I turned like 12, 13, so like, hell yeah, I stayed in trouble as a shorty, man. That's all. I stayed in some shit, bro. Like, my background shot like a motherfucker, but like as far as being convicted, I ain't got no deep convictions, you get what I'm saying? I got two gun convictions. Both of them unconstitutional though right now.
Each time he went in, people expected him not to come back out. Each time he did, he came back with more scars, visible and invisible. The system wasn't rehabilitating him, it was sharpening him, making him more of what the streets had already created. But here's where Zoo's story gets complicated. Because while a lot of people caught bodies and bodies caught them, Zoo had a different reputation. He beat cases, not just any cases. Murder, attempted murder. Charges that should have put him away for life. He walked away from them. And in the streets, that kind of record makes you legendary. It makes people whisper your name with a mix of respect and fear. It makes rivals wonder what kind of luck or connections you've got. Zoo was adamant about one thing. He didn't snitch. He didn't cooperate. He won his cases the hard way. Jury selection, trial strategy, playing the game better than the prosecution. November 5th, 2014, Lil Durk's home. Federal agents kicked in the door and took Zoo into custody for a murder from 2009. 5 years later, they thought they had him. He sat in county for years, waiting, fighting, and in 2018, he beat it. That victory inspired one of his biggest tracks.
You know, I beat my body January 2018, and Vaughn beat this shit a month after. And Dirk flew us down here, you feel me, took us shopping and shit. And I said it on my No Jump interview, you know, we was just really just in the basement on Dirk Live. We set a live up there, and they was like, damn, you Zoo and Vaughn just beat, they murdered a month apart from each other, y'all should do a song. And Buka and Ike was playing with the motherfucker, like, man, y'all ass ain't no shit. They telling y'all ass to rap. And Vaughn ass like, man, shit, call the engineer. So they called the engineer, you know what I'm saying? Man, Vaughn just that bitch is playing. We ain't even write that beat the body. We just going back and forth, and that ended up being one of my hot.
Beat Dat Body, featuring King Von. The song wasn't just a flex. It was a middle finger to the system that couldn't keep him down. A street anthem that celebrated survival against impossible odds. But that song also did something else. It put an even bigger target on his back. When you rap about beating murder charges, every detective in the city knows your name. Every rival knows you're untouchable in court, which means the only justice they'll get is street justice. Zoo's victories in the courtroom were building his legend, but they were also building his obituary. Triga Happy Family, Taytown Hustlers Family, take your pick. Both names carry weight. Originally Gangster Disciples, they flipped to Black Disciples in the 2000s. Operating around 46th Street, Kenwood, Bronzeville, THF carved out their territory with blood and loyalty. But in Chicago, territory means enemies. And THF's biggest enemy was right across the line. 0521 Young Money, a Mickey Cobra set that matched them body for body, funeral for funeral. The THF versus 0521 war wasn't just another beef. It was biblical, generational. Some people estimate the combined death toll at over 100 people. Friends, brothers, people who grew up together, now killing each other over blocks that none of them would ever truly own. And Zoo? He was rumored to be at the center of it. Whispers called him OTF's top shooter, the enforcer, the one they called when things needed to be handled. Whether those rumors were true or not, they became his reality. Perception is everything in the streets. And once you're labeled the Reaper, every death gets attributed to you. Every rival wants to be the one who takes you down. THF wasn't just Zoo's gang. It was his identity, his family, his death sentence. Zoo had been close with Lil Durk since 2008. When Durk formed OTF, Only the Family, Zoo was right there, part of the foundation. But unlike Durk, Zoo's music career was a slow burn. He wasn't dropping albums left and right. He was more about singles, collaborations, songs that captured specific moments, specific feelings from the streets. His breakthrough didn't really come until the early 2020s. By then, he'd lived enough for 3 lifetimes, and it showed in his music. Do It for Vaughn, a tribute to King Von that pulled over 4 million streams on Spotify. Raw Emotion, Survivor's Guilt, the pain of losing someone you thought was invincible. Mad 'Cause I'm Rich, 1.1 million streams. A celebration but also a confession. Making it out financially but never really leaving. Get backers with Buna, 900,000 streams. The title alone tells you everything you need to know about his mindset. Zoo's music wasn't polished. It wasn't radio-friendly. It was documentation. Street journalism set to drill beats. Every bar was testimony to a life lived on the edge of death. But here's the tragedy. The more authentic his music was, the more it cemented him in the life he was starting to want to leave. Around 2012, Zoo met Davon Bennett, King Von. They bonded during jail time. Those endless hours where all you have is conversation and the hope of seeing outside again. Zoo saw something in Von that reminded him of himself. That raw storytelling ability, that refusal to sugarcoat the streets. They became more than friends, more than collaborators, brothers in every way that mattered. When Von's career took off, Zoo was proud. When Von's music told the stories they'd both lived, Zoo felt seen. And when Von died in Atlanta on November 6, 2020, shot outside a hookah lounge in a confrontation that escalated too fast, Zoo lost more than a friend. He lost one of the few people who truly understood him. One of the few people who'd made it further than the rest. One of the few people who proved that maybe, just maybe, you could turn this life into something more. Von's death broke something in Zoo that never quite got fixed. You could hear it in every song he made afterward, every interview, every social media post. The loss of Von was the loss of hope, disguised as grief. Disguised as grief. In October 2025, Zoo had built something significant. 180,000 Instagram followers, 35,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. 2 recent projects, FO6 in 2023 and Murder Story in 2025. On paper, he was winning, making money from music, getting recognition beyond the streets, finally turning pain into profit. But Zoo was tired. In interviews, he talked about wanting out, wanting to focus on his 7 children, wanting to relocate them far away from Chicago, from the blocks that had claimed so many people he loved. He talked about starting youth programs, giving kids alternatives to the streets, being the mentor he never had. He could see the cycle clearly. He understood the problem. He knew that if nothing changed, his kids would inherit the same war he'd been fighting his whole life. But here's the cruel irony. Authenticity was his brand. The streets were his credibility. And in drill music, you can't just walk away. Your past follows you. Your reputation demands loyalty. Your enemies don't care about your redemption arc. Zoo wanted to change, but he was trapped by the very things that made him who he was. October 26, 2025, around 3 p.m., the parking lot near 3100 South St. Louis Avenue. Little Village, Chicago. Zoo was there with 2 other men. One 39 years old, the other 42. The purpose of the meeting isn't entirely clear. Some reports say they were picking up car parts. Others suggest it was something else. What is clear is that they weren't alone. The ambush came quickly, not random, not opportunistic, calculated. When the shooting stopped, investigators recovered 39 shell casings, rifle rounds, 9 mm rounds, multiple weapons, multiple shooters. This wasn't a confrontation. This was an execution. 5 vehicles in the parking lot were hit by stray bullets. The chaos was complete. The precision was surgical.
Hey, yo.
I just for the air, John 464-987, 464-987, event 0764807648.
Damn, I mean, they got his ass.
Subject boy.
Go ahead.
The vehicle looks like it may be a Honda Accord, newer model, like 2020. And the both shooters jumped in the rear, one in the passenger, so there possibly at least 3 heads in the car.
The 39-year-old man took a bullet to the ankle, painful but survivable. The 42-year-old caught rounds to his arm, back and lower body. Critical, but he'd make it. The Zoo took multiple shots to the torso. Emergency responders rushed all 3 to Mount Sinai Hospital. The first 2 men would survive their injuries. Zoo fought for his life in the trauma bay. Surgeons working desperately to stop the bleeding, to repair the damage. But some wounds are too deep. Some damage can't be undone. That evening, THF Zoo, Devin Chicalier, father of 7, OTF member, survivor of so many close calls, was pronounced dead. His family confirmed it to the media. His friends confirmed it on social media, and Chicago's drill community went into shock. Another name added to a list that was already too long. Within hours of his death, surveillance footage from the parking lot leaked online. Silent, grainy, brutal. The video showed 2 shooters approaching on foot. Not in a car, not a drive-by. They walked up deliberately, weapons drawn, and opened fire at close range. This contradicted initial police reports that suggested a vehicle was involved. The footage told a different story, a story of hunters and prey. And just like that, Zoo's death became content. Shared across Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, thousands of views. Thousands of comments, people analyzing his final moments frame by frame. The ethical debate was immediate. Should footage like this be shared? Is it documentation or exploitation? Where's the line between telling the story and disrespecting the dead? But in Chicago's drill culture, these videos have become part of the narrative. Proof, receipts, evidence that separates rumor from reality. Zoo's death wasn't just talked about, it was watched over and over again. The response from OTF and THF was immediate and heartbroken. Duty Low, another OTF member, posted an emotional tribute, talked about Zoo's 7 children, promised to make sure they'd be taken care of. The pain in his words was real. This wasn't performance, this was grief. THF Rome spoke about desensitization. How many funerals can you attend before death stops feeling like death? How many friends can you lose before loss stops feeling like loss? But here's what shocked people. Billionaire Black from FBG, a rival set, posted a respectful tribute. No disrespect, no mockery, just acknowledgement that another soldier had fallen. Social media flooded with tributes. Rip Bezu, long live Big Boss Zoo. Chicago took another one, but not everyone mourned. On Reddit forums, in rival gang social media, in the dark corners of Chicago's online drill culture, some people celebrated. Comments like "why he ain't blow his gun" spread across threads, mocking, taunting, celebrating the death of someone they'd never met but had been taught to hate. This is the toxic underbelly of Chicago's gang culture. The way death becomes entertainment, the way someone's final moments become material for jokes and disrespect. Rival factions posted cryptic messages, laughing emojis. Scorekeeping like this was a game with points and winners, and in some ways that's what it's become. A game where the only way to win is to survive. And eventually, nobody wins at all. One thing worth noting, O-Block, another prominent set, stayed out of it. They remained allied with THF and OTF. This wasn't their beef, and they made that clear through silence. One person who couldn't speak publicly about Zoo's death, Lil Durk. Durk was locked up on federal murder-for-hire charges. Behind bars, unable to post, unable to attend any funeral, unable to mourn publicly with the family he'd built through OTF. But reports from people connected to him suggest Durk broke down when he heard the news. Zoo wasn't just an OTF member. He was day one. He was there before the fame, before the money, before any of this became what it is now. Online, the sentiment was dark. Vaughn gone. D-Thang gone. Zoo gone. Durk facing life. OTF is finished. The tragedy of THF Zoo isn't just that he died young. It isn't just that he died violently. It isn't even that he died in a parking lot, ambushed by people who likely learned how to kill from the same streets that taught him. The tragedy is that he could see the problem clearly. He knew the cycle was broken. He knew the streets consumed everyone they touched. He knew his children needed better. He knew Chicago needed better, but knowing isn't enough. Not when your entire identity is built on loyalty to the very things destroying you. Not when walking away means being called a hypocrite, a fake, a has-been. Not when your authenticity, the thing that makes your art matter, is inseparable from your proximity to death. Devin Chicalier, THF Zoo, Big Boss Zoo, whatever name you knew him by, spent 35 years surviving against impossible odds. He beat charges that should have buried him. He made music that mattered. He loved his kids. He wanted change. But in the end, the streets that raised him were the streets that claimed him. And somewhere tonight, in parking lots and street corners across Chicago, there are young men who see themselves in Zoo's story, who think they'll be the ones to make it out, who think their story will end differently. The cameras are already recording. The cycle continues. The city holds its breath for the next name. Rest in peace, Zoo. You tried to warn them. You tried to change. In the end, maybe that's the best any of us can do.